Can I ask the question now? Currently, chronic fatigue syndrome is thought to affect roughly 1 million Americans, but there are subgroups, and we're trying to define the subgroups with biomarkers. Would it be reasonable if you found a group defined by a biomarker under a certain threshold to be considered an orphan group and come under the orphan guidelines?
I think that's something that you should take up with the Office of Orphan Drugs. I think the regulations for that, I think, need to be understood very clearly that orphan drug designation is for a product, for an indication. They probably are better able to provide you guidance as to that specific question of whether something represents a plausible, unique entity or group.
Because I've heard it argued, if let's take the number 1 million as an example, if only 16% of those patients are diagnosed, there's really only 160,000 U.S. citizens currently carrying the diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome. If you take the epidemiology numbers out that way, in which case they certainly would fit under the orphan criteria. But if you take the broader group, we haven't diagnosed the other 84% yet. Oops, fell out. Yeah. So I just don't know how it would be seen.
I think that if a sponsor has a product that they want to develop for a particular indication and believe that that product could qualify for orphan drug designation, that's something they should take up with the Office of Orphan Drugs, and they would be best equipped to guide them through the process as to how to make the case and make that determination. I don't think that is something that we could make here.
Can they go both routes, Mark?
What?
Could they come in both through the regular channel and talk to the orphan drug folks, or is it one track only?
No. The products are still evaluated in the review divisions in the Center for New Drugs, in the Office of New Drugs, or the Center for Biologics. But the Office of Orphan Drug Products helps making the determination of whether the product receives orphan drug designation, which comes with certain types of provisions with respect to exclusivity when they get approved, with respect to, I believe that there are also some provisions with respect to taxes that are not tax situations in the development, or being able to write off the cost of the drug development. But that's probably better taken up with the Office of Orphan Drugs.
Well, I recognize that you represent kind of an organization, an agency, and you need to tell us the best policy practices for that organization. I appreciate you coming to our meeting consistently and representing the FDA. I'm just wondering if you could, is there some way of our advisory committee working with you and people within your organization to have dialogue on this issue, to somehow kind of, is there some way that we can influence the process, not necessarily one way or the other, but to have more dialogue with individuals within your agency? I'm not within your agency. I don't know how it works. Can you tell us any possible mechanisms, possible ways that we might be able to kind of work with people within your organization concerning this really very, very difficult situation that we're faced with?
I would say that sponsors that do have a product that they would like to develop for an indication in chronic fatigue syndrome should speak with any of the review divisions under which that product may fall and seek pre-IND advice. There's also the Office of Special Health Issues, which exists in the Office of the Commissioner, that has had meetings with representatives of the chronic fatigue syndrome community and with different investigators in the past, and they are capable. They are also interested in helping provide advice or answering questions and information, providing general information. I'm not sure exactly what process you're trying to influence or trying to affect.
Eileen.
I'll let Eileen kind of.
I just have a question for Mark. I'm not very informed on the process of drug approval, so it's really just I'm just trying to understand. You explained that safety and efficacy have are factors in whether or not the FDA will approve a medication. Did you also say that etiology played a role in determining whether you would approve a drug or not?
Regulations under we operate do not say anything specific with respect to etiology, but I would say that in the review process, one will always take into consideration the risk-benefit, and that the risk-benefit changes depending on the indication of which area of medicine that is. I think that we can understand that when we're talking about products for oncology indications, the risk-benefit is going to be very different than if we're talking for products to prevent people from sneezing, for example. I'm not trying to be glib at this point, but I'm just trying to find a way of expressing how they're different across the broad spectrum of medicine. There are different levels of risk-benefit. I would strongly advise that you go to the FDA website to see where there's certainly more information now. The website has been certainly upgraded to a state that it's probably more informative than it has been in the past, and where you can find more information about the process of drug approval and the basis for drug approval.